We continue our line series today with the 6 lines of purpose, which is the last sphere of the activation sequence. And purpose isn't about doing anything in the world. It's learning to rest in who you are meant to be. It's not adding anything. It's not doing anything extra. Instead, it's removing things until you get to your innermost essence, what Richard Rudd calls your quintessence. The question, what is my purpose, will drive you bananas. And it is not the right question. And I'm not going to tell you what the right question is. That's for you to figure out. But purpose isn't about what we're here to do. It's a quality of consciousness. It's who we are. And it's hidden. It's subconscious. So it's on the other side of the pathway of breakthrough. If you look in the activation sequence, which means this is below board. This is something that we can't control automatically, like our life's work or our evolution. It's something that emerges through challenge. And so we need to remember to be grateful for the experiences that life throws our way, positive or negative, because as you begin to shift your frequency, that's what begins to remove all the dross, all the extra, and allows your purpose to shine through. Like it or not, we are physical beings on this physical reality. And being human, your purpose is to fill that physical body with consciousness. And that's what the sphere of purpose is about. And each of these 6 lines is an aspect of core stability. And core stability is the pathway that comes from radiance and leads into the sphere of purpose. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later on in the lines, but it's important to know that core stability, we need all of these things. The line that you are just gives you which one you need a little bit more of, which is a little bit more to pay attention to, but you need every single one of them. That doesn't mean that you'll have them all internally. You might have them in people that are around you, but regardless, all of these are required to find core stability and to allow your purpose to shine through. So first, line 1, we have physicality, and we have here a keynote and then where it ties to in your body. So I hinted at that when I did the radiance 6 lines. These are physical in nature. Again, it's about the consciousness filling your body. So it's where we need to pay special attention to. Like, it's a great idea when you meditate to put your focus, put your awareness on these things and see if you can feel what I'm talking about here. So line 1 is physicality, which is in the bones. And so if you remember, the first line, radiance, is about solitude. And part of that solitude is going within and tapping into your physical body. That's where you're going to find stability. That's where you're going to find the creation, the pulling from the void that I talk about often with the first line. You need to see your body as a temple. So a year or 2 ago, I did this thing called Full Temple Reset, which was a 5-day fast paired with hot and cold, and doing some dream work with a Jungian psychology expert. And it was just a beautiful experience that really left me nurtured with all of my first lines. So that's something, not necessarily fasting, but finding what makes your body feel like a temple is really important. You're going to have a physical life as a first line, and it's different. I'm going to talk more about sort of the physicality in the third line, but this is different than that. This isn't like hard exertion exercise. This is like farming or walking or like being of the earth, doing something that is tiring, that is also grounding and of the earth. And your job is to balance enjoyment, because you're here in the physical, right? And so we don't only want to focus on just this like being clean in our body and having things be perfect. You also, like my 56 gene key, which I have twice, is enrichment, right? It's about doing things that bring joy to your soul. And that's going to bring you health and bring you vitality, which is super important for this first line. So you need to go out and roll in the grass and be of the earth and get to the ocean and get to the woods. And it's the bones, because that's the structure of our body, right? And our bones connect us through frequency to our past. They're like this tuning fork, and we can pick up on where we've come from. And that's one of the key things of the first line. And another one of my gifts is the 41st gift. And in that, he talks about its anticipation. And he talks about morphogenetic fields, picking up on things that are around us. And it's our bones that help us to do that. Moving on to the second line now, it's posture and fluids. So each line builds on the line before it. And in this case, we're adding movement and flow to the structure, to the bones of the body. And the focus here is the spine. So I'm a line 2 in my purpose, and my spine gives me all sorts of trouble, or it used to, and it's getting better and better and better the more I feel myself imbibe of this wisdom and get deeper into the knowledge of the gene keys. There's like a physical change happening to my spine specifically and to the structure of my body. So if that's happening to you, know that you're not alone. And the spine is where I find my core stability. It's where line 2s find that stability. And I said that I would talk about that briefly. So core stability is basically the idea of, so we have the shadow, the gift, and the city, right? Our 3 frequency bands that we talk about in the gene keys. And stability is just about staying in the gift and the city consistently, more frequently. That's what stability is referencing there. It's about jumping into the shadow a little bit less, getting involved in the patterns that used to run your life a little bit less. And that then allows your frequency to gradually raise, and our heart begins to open slow and steady. And our IQ and our EQ, some spheres from the Venus sequence that are going to come up in as we continue these 6 lines, we're able to make intellectual and emotional choices from a place of knowing that our physical body is safe and that the universe is looking out for us. And that's what core stability gives us. So genius doesn't flow from a stooped posture, right? You don't see people changing the world walking around like this, and no shame if your body is in a position like that right now. But when you look at the genius of the past, it's shoulders back, head up, so that we can use our voice, so that we can express our vibration, so that people can feel our aura. And the strength of the spine is in its flexibility, right? Its pliability, it's multi-directional, multifaceted, and it handles whatever comes its way. And remember, line 2 is keynoted the dancer in the life's work sphere. It's all about interacting with life. It's being flexible, and that's where the core stability comes from for a line 2. It's about adaptability. It's about being able to see and use your purpose in everything that comes your way. And the joy that comes from your purpose comes from trusting in and responding to the environment instead of labeling something as negative or wishing that it happened a different way. So this is structure as flow as opposed to stillness. So line 2s, get out there, do your Tai Chi, or I do this thing called WEC roping or RMT roping, if you've ever heard of that. But get some flow into your spine. And at the same time, remember, these stack on top of one another. It's vital for all of these lines to get your pauses. Take your stillness, because that's where guidance is going to come through. This is the path of effortlessness. Now on to the 3rd line, which is about movement, and it's the blood. So our 3rd lines are the ones that ride the currents of change in the world. They love jumping around. finding new experiences, new people, new jobs. It's all about tasting as much of the world as you can. Much like your blood needs to go to your whole body. Every single cell needs a flow of blood so that we can stay oxygenated and stay energized. And stability for a 3 comes through movement and energy as opposed to stillness. So this isn't flow like I talked about with 2, and it's not the earthy energy of 1. This is like hard work. And, these are my CrossFitters. I was a CrossFit coach for a long time. So these are all generalizations, right? But these are people that are not in this effortless flow. Instead, it's like a burst of energy that comes through you that propels you to act. And the blood, as we move, as we do things, circulation gets increased, and you're gonna feel more vital energy as the 3rd line when that happens. You need to get out there and have some adventures, go and travel the world, find and chase new experiences. You're gonna need hard exertion, hard exercise to feel alive. That's what's going to make you feel grounded. So I joked about CrossFit. Could be CrossFit, could be kettlebell work, could be hard running, Ironman, triathletes, climbing a mountain, rock climbing, you name it. But whatever it is, you're gonna like intensity and it's gonna make you feel good. Your consistency as a 3rd line is inconsistency. And the sooner that you can learn to love that in yourself, the sooner you're going to find your core stability. You're not meant to have a scheduled, rigid life. That's gonna drive you crazy. It's gonna hold you back. And like blood flowing to the entire body, like I talked about earlier, as a 3rd line, you have to flow to the entire earth. You have to check out and taste a little bit of everything, even the shadow. We don't need to shy away from the shadow. It's not bad. Remember, it's what contains the gifts. We need to experience the shadow so that we can experience the gifts. It's that simple. Even though you need all of these different experiences, commitment for you is still key. It's vital that you don't give up on things before you're supposed to give up on things. 3rd lines want to leave early. They want to dodge and avoid. And you need to make sure that you stick out cycles till the end so that you can learn those lessons, so that you can farm the gift before you jump to something else. All right, line 4 is rhythm and breath. So breath brings us into harmony with everything, every other living creature on this planet, right? We have plants that are inhaling the CO2 that we breathe out and pumping the oxygen that we need back to us. The air molecules that are floating around in the atmosphere, those are the same molecules that people were breathing. Every person that has ever been alive has been breathing. And so you're breathing the same air as Marcus Aurelius, as Gandhi, as the founding fathers of the United States, where I am. It's the same air, and it drives this connection and brings us into life's deep rhythms. The 4th line has a gift to connect with other people, to all living things. This is the line of community. It's the line of service. It's about being with other people and celebrating with other people. And it comes from a place of love and a place of connectedness. And you really just want to serve and you want to help. And in order to do that, you've got to get your core stability. People are going to feel your level of frequency through your aura. And you need to be there so that you can connect with people on a heart level. That is your role. You are most at home when you are in communion with other people. So find your tribe, find your community, whether that's at a church or that's at a gym or that is with a group of surfers or whatever it is. Old friends, new friends, doesn't matter. Stay plugged in because your stability is coming from connection and coming from service. You're going to feel your best surrounded by the people that you love. So that could be blood family, that could be soul family, that could be anything in between. Also, it could be a relationship even with animals or with plants, but it typically is going to be with people that you can interact with, people that you can feel and who can feel you. You're going to have this urge to drive resonance, to drive harmony, and to match breath with people. So if you've ever done breath work or even just walked with somebody or done a meditation, oftentimes what happens is the inhales and the exhales are going to find resonance. They're going to match up. Same with your steps, right? My right foot and your right foot are going to fall at the same time. And your inhale and your exhale is going to be taken together. And that is your aura linking up. That is your energy coming through. And as a fourth line, that's what you're here to do. Because in that syncing, people can feel the message, the energy, the love that brings us all closer together, that drives community on a more global level. And that's what you're here to do. You're here to help humanity recognize its unity, recognize its oneness, one community at a time, which is different from the fifth line, which is keynoted frequency, and it pertains to the voice. Fifth lines are talking to the whole world at once instead of linking community by community. And so here we move from the respiratory system to the nervous system. And the breath to the voice. So the voice is adding vibration and tonality to our breath. That's all our vocal cords are doing. And that carries farther. So for a 4 to communicate, it could be nonverbal. I can communicate heart to heart without creating sound. A fifth line is here to create sound. A fifth line is here to tell people what to do, how to do it. This is the line of practicality. Your gifts have to be spoken. It has to be shared. It has to be heard. You have to be a leader as a fifth line. Your frequency has to be vibrated out into the world so that other people can feel it. They're not going to just feel it through your presence, which is what a sixth line does. And I'll talk about that more here in just a second. You're going to be grounded. You're going to find that core stability in the way that you communicate with the world. And how you share your frequency affects you deeply. So it's really important as a fifth line to think about your message. Think about what you're meant to bring to the world. Think about not just that, but the tonality. How are you saying it? You as a fifth line are enigmatic and magnetic, and people are drawn to you and you affect them deeply, whether you realize that or not. This is the line of power. It's the line of fame oftentimes. It's like when somebody walks into the room and everybody's head turns, that's fifth line energy. That is like, somebody will ask this person, are you a movie star? I laugh because I have a fifth line in my SQ and my heart feels really open. I've been asked that a handful of times in my life, which is interesting, especially when I'm with my girlfriend. It's weird. Okay, so for you to find stability, one thing that can really help is chanting or singing. Something that is going to cause your frequency to find resonance, to find, what's the word I'm looking for here? I can't think of it, doesn't matter. But there is a teaching in one of the videos that go along with the Golden Path courses that Richard Rudd does. And I forget which one it is right now, but it's a 30-minute Om chant. And in that chant, you'll notice if you do it, the first 5 minutes, things sound weird and off, and there's like some shaking in your voice. And by the 10-minute mark, it's so pure and it's so true, and you've tuned your voice. And as a fifth line, it's important for you to do. So you need to use your voice to organize, to impact something in the world, and ultimately to be a leader. That is the name of the game for the fifth line. Finally, we move on to the sixth line, which is about intent. And we feel that intent in our cells. So modern science is getting real weird as we get closer and closer to paradox, and we're learning that intention really has a big impact on outcome. If you think of like the placebo effect, our intention, our mind, what we're thinking matters. And that is the sixth line. This is purpose at a cellular level. And the cells hold our frequency. So those frequency bands, shadow gift city, dictated by our cells, because that's where our DNA lives. And our DNA tells our body what hormones to make. It tells our physical body what chemicals to dump into it. And that is how your frequency is felt by everyone else around you. Everyone thinks, or a lot of people think, that this is like off in La La Land. But this is very much tied into the science, the chemistry of your body. Your body is going to produce more serotonin. It's going to produce more dopamine. It's going to produce those feel-good chemicals that then allow you to be peaceful, allow you to be calm, and other people pick up on that. Especially as a sixth line, because it's all about presence. Fifth lines need to talk. Sixth lines don't need to say a thing. Your aura does the talking all by itself as a sixth line. This is the Ram Dass. This is the yogi, right? The Ananda of the world. The folks that, when people get in a room, Sadhguru is another example. People get in a room with them and they're just awed. And they can just feel, and I've never been in a room with any of these people, but I've read stories, I've seen video, and people can just feel that something is different about this person. And that is your aura talking for itself. Awareness for a sixth line is not in your body. It needs to be in your aura. Well, it needs to be both, right? Like anything, it's this and that. It's not this or that. And so you still need, remember, all of these other things. They all need to be in your life. However, for a sixth line, the focus needs to be in the aura. It needs to be in how people are perceiving you, or better yet, how you're putting out your energy so that other people can perceive you. You as a sixth line push the rest of humanity to understand its unity. So similar to the fourth line, but the sixth line here goes deeper than like connection via love and community. It is like truly, if you've ever done psychedelics or had a really deep meditation or breath work where you've had the knowing that we are all one, that is that sixth line feeling of understanding that we are more than our physical body, that there is a unity here that we don't quite understand yet. And you as a sixth line are the bringer of that new awareness, that connected awareness, the future human, if you will, what Richard Rudd calls Homo Sanctus, which is our next evolution, where we're not going to be able to hide anything anymore, because we are going to have an instant and immediate connection. And think about the repercussions of that. Think about what happens when we can't lie, we can't cheat, we can't steal, because I am you. Everything changes. Everyone's frequency goes through the roof immediately, because we no longer have a delay in cause and effect. It's instant. So those are the 6 lines of purpose. It's important to know these are the 6 lines of purpose in the activation sequence. So purpose sphere serves double duty. It's the last sphere of the activation sequence, and it's the first sphere of the Venus sequence. And that's where we're headed next. So I finished up all the lines of the Pearl sequence. This concludes all the lines in the activation sequence. So now we finish our golden path journey with all the lines of all the different Venus sequence spheres, starting with the sphere of purpose. Then we'll go to attraction, IQ, EQ, SQ, and core. So stick with me. I'm doing one of these about a week, give or take, and then roughly throwing in another video that I'm creating in between. Talk to me in both of this series and those other videos. I want to know what is helpful for you. I want to build things that create action. So the last video I did that wasn't about gene keys was about balancing spirituality and the real world. I think some of my viewers are lost in fantasy. They're lost in, they're too far in the spiritual realm. And that's great. And I was there. So it's, again, no shame in that game. And I think it's part of the journey. At a certain point though, it's time to come back to the real world and get work done. If we want this change to happen, we can't just live in the ethereal world. We can't just be spiritual beings. Remember, this is about consciousness taken, rooted into our physical body. That's our job. That's what we got to do. And when we can do that, people will feel the spirituality. And then things will really start to change. All right, guys, till next time.